Greetings, everyone. Please let me know you can hear me by typing a Y on the text chat. Excellent. So, welcome everyone to tonight's training, How to Embody Your Soul's Purpose as an Indigo, the two things you must do to ascend. How's everyone feeling this evening? Awesome. So, before we get started, please just type on the text chat where you're currently logging in from. So, we have New Hampshire, Chicago, Canada, Melbourne, Wisconsin, Florida, Vegas, Texas, California, Turks and Caicos, South America, Brazil, Rio, Iran. So the reason I'm asking you is because, as you probably are aware, the Earth has chakras, which are called stargates, all around the Earth. So what's happening right now is we're in the middle of an ascension cycle. So all these frequencies are coming into the Earth. So if you are clear and you are activated, then your job as an indigo is to help facilitate this stellar activation cycle and to actually be a guardian of the Stargate close to where you live. And so it's not coincidental that your soul basically guided you to this webinar. Make sense, everyone? Just type a Y on the text chat. All right, so let's get started. What you're going to learn tonight, if you're not familiar already, are who the Indigos are, and you're going to learn about the different waves of Indigos that have come onto the planet, and specifically why you are here, how to tell if you are an Indigo. Also, the 10,000 new Indigos called the Grid Keepers and what they came here to do. And then we'll go into how to determine if you're one of them. We'll actually cover how we can use multidimensional codes to clear things from your morphogenetic field, your auric field, and activate your DNA. And we'll actually do a live clearing tonight. So you'll get to experience this and you'll be able to feel it no matter where you are in the world. Of course, we're also going to cover the two things that all Indigos have to do in order to ascend and perform their soul's mission. And this just comes from working with over 2 million Indigos since 1999, doing sessions and readings and clearings and activations. And so I'm very familiar with the different types of Indigos, and I consider myself to be the leader of Indigos. So, I know what everyone is going through because I've been through it myself. And then at the end, we're going to talk about how you can learn more and do all these things. And I will be making an offer to you to see if you would like to join a group where we're going to be doing these things to help the earth. So it will not only help the earth, but it will also help you embody your soul's mission and become more aligned with who you are. So let's get started. The big problem that I see is that you and other Indigos are not performing your soul's mission because you don't know what it is, and you may be blocked by either karma or fear. So let me know if this sounds like you. Who here already knows that you're an indigo, but you still aren't working in line with your soul's mission? Just type a Y in the text chat. All right, lots of Y's flowing down the screen. Who here is still working in what I call a wage slave job and is afraid to put yourself out there? All right, more Y's. Who here cares what other people around you think and are afraid to be judged? So this is a big one for most indigos because indigos are so sensitive. You know, some indigos have never even been in a physical body before. So when they come to the earth environment, it's so negative and they're so sensitive that, you know, any little comment can affect them tremendously. And then they just feel like pulling back and not sharing their gifts with the world. Let me ask you this: who here feels like you may have adopted the patterns of your parents and you're still struggling with their issues? All right, so there, a lot of people are saying yes. So here's what happens. You know, you can be a very high frequency indigo coming in, and you do select your parents on the soul level when you decide to come in. There are different sets of parents, and then you choose two that you like more than the other ones that have the DNA, so you can perform your mission on what you desire to do. But of course, none of our parents are perfect, so all of their issues at conception become our issues through the DNA. So even if you have no personal karma whatsoever, you have never been on the earth, as soon as you know you get that fetal pattern in there, that's half your mom and half your dad. So that's the first thing that you require to clear, because if you don't clear that, you end up walking the karma of your parents, and we don't want to do that, right? So throughout, you know, my life, I discovered this, you know, pretty much the hard way by recognizing the patterns in my parents and then recognizing that those patterns were in me. And the first thing that really opened my eyes was when I heard about indigos, and then I realized that I was an indigo, because indigos are completely different people than the majority, you know, than angelic humans. So it's a kind of a relief when you find out that you're not supposed to fit in. How many of you have felt that relief when you figured out that you were an indigo and you realize that you're really just a different being? You're not like everyone else. You know, it's like right now I'm in Las Vegas and they have this EDC music festival, and so you've got thousands of people here that are coming to town, and you know they're going in helicopters to this huge music festival with thousands of people, and they're all dressed up, you know, in these wild outfits, and you know most of them are doing some type of drug, and they're just running around mindlessly crazy, and I just don't get it. You know, I, it's not something I want to do, is hang out with thousands of people who are on drugs and not present to who they are. So when you find out that you're different and that's okay, that's a big relief, because then you realize why you're here and that you have a potential that the other people do not have. And so that's what led me down the path, is when I found out about DNA, Indigos. I found out about, what happened to the DNA and how we had to fix the DNA. And so then, I was contacted by Babaji Nagaraj, and he became my mentor for 4 years, and we wrote 2 books together. And so we did 22 different levels of training. And, Babaji Nagaraj is known as the Deathless Avatar. So he was like his mentor hat was like being a Navy SEAL instructor times 1,000. Imagine having a mentor who can read every single one of your thoughts, who knows every single one of your incarnations and all of your patterns. So that's how I was able to verify a lot of the things that I've been studying. And he helped me to clear a lot of things that were also holding me back, from my parents. And so through that experience, I started using all of this training with my clients and basically going through the same procedures and protocols. So since 1999, when I started, I've done over 240,000 sessions. So these are auric clearings, karmic sessions, J cell removals, DNA activations, and soul readings. And, throughout my training with Babaji, I was, basically told of all of my past incarnations. And one of the questions that one of my students asked me today was, your email said, some of the indigos coming in had never even been on Earth before. And that's true. But then there are some that have been here before and that are called the Blueprinter Soul Group. So I'm a member of the Blueprinter Soul Group, and the Blueprinter Soul Group is the soul group that collectively engineered the whole human experience. So we know about the grids, we know about the DNA, we know how it's supposed to work because we were participating in the original design. And some of you I know are also blueprinters. So you were there as well. You're just remembering all this stuff. And we've all had multiple experiences, and we could have been, a cell in a body. That's our consciousness. Or we could be, you know, the consciousness of a rock or an animal. It's possible that that could happen. We could just be in the atmosphere. We could just be a huge gestalt of consciousness that creates oceans. There's all kinds of different configurations that we can embody. But right now, you're in a human body, but that's just a part of your consciousness. Does that make sense, everyone? That's like 0.001% of who you really are. The majority of you is non-physical. For example, an indigo type 1 with a fully activated 48 strand DNA template, like the one that I have, our auric field expands for 144 miles. So when we go to Chichen Itza, like here, and we do these code activations for the grids, it's very powerful when we get 50 to 100 people together that are also indigos. So we can correct distortions in the grids by running our frequency into the grids at these sacred site locations. So that's another purpose of the indigos. So that's what we've been doing over the years, and not just in spiritual focus workshops, but also in business workshops. So this was a mastermind of business people. Here's another mastermind that I was a leader in. And so, you know, all around the world, it doesn't matter what group you're in, you're still at the core a human being with an auric field and a DNA template. And so in order to make the most of your potential, you have to clear the things that are discordant and you require to activate the things that are dormant, like your dormant DNA inside of your cells, that science calls junk DNA. We know that God or the creator or, the universal force did not create us as junk. You wouldn't have an original design that said, let's just make junk of this person. No, those codes are just waiting for the right evolutionary sequences, the right codes to activate our human potential. And so this is what I've been doing over the years, is working with thousands of people and very high frequency people that are also indigos, and some of them didn't even know that they were indigos. They didn't even know that they had an indigo DNA template. And you know, whenever you have an indigo template, you can also invoke a soul from the higher dimensions whenever you have children. And so this is my son Eam, and he is just, impeccable. But I just wanted to go over that just to show you what I've been up to. And what I really want you to understand is that the indigo children, there are many different names for it out there. Some people have called them, the rainbow children. There's many different names, but the only way you can tell if you're an indigo is if you have someone who can see and read your DNA template. Because there's three types of indigos. There's indigo type 2, which is a 24-strand DNA. There's indigo type 1, which is a 48-strand DNA. And then there's indigo type 3, which is a combination between a 24-strand DNA and a -11 Nephilim DNA. So unless you have someone who can read your DNA template and connect to your higher self and verify for you, you can't just go by something that you read. Does that make sense, everyone? All right, so you probably read my email about indigo children, the definition. So you know that indigo children come in with more DNA strands activated. They're like wide awake. And another thing about indigos is you can't hold the entire consciousness in the fetal body. And so they just send a little portion of the consciousness, which you can think of as the birth soul, in first to get the incarnation started. And so, a lot of indigos, they are born prematurely as well. And so the birth soul gets the incarnation started, and then, at a certain time, the rest of the consciousness is able to embody. So there's basically the birth soul walks out into ascension, and then the higher self, the master soul, walks in. So this usually happens around the age of 9 to 12. This happens with all indigo type 1s and type 2s, because if not, it would, the consciousness frequency is oscillating at such a high rate, it would literally blow up the fetal body. And this is why a lot of miscarriages happen. The parents are not prepared energetically to hold the frequency of that high of a frequency soul. So, for those of you who are, you know, who had children that were born prematurely, most likely, they were indigos, or maybe you're, a grandmother, it's that's what's happening right now. And another thing is there are different symptoms from the higher frequencies that are coming into the earth. So if you are experiencing like headaches or tiredness, or your energy levels are going up and down, or a little bit of high blood pressure, this is a sign of you raising your frequency and different frequencies coming into the earth, because this is how we evolve. Frequencies coming through the earth, like through the stargates at certain times, they interact with our auric field, and it speeds up the particle pulsation rate. inside of ourselves. If we're clear and we don't have, karmic imprints that are running in reverse that block that energy, we can take advantage of it. But if we are not clear, that higher frequency will hit that blockage and then it'll just stop. And then that causes the body to degenerate. Because what is happening now is the earth is moving to a different frequency and we are on the earth. All right. So just imagine this, we're on the earth and the earth is moving up in frequency, but imagine that most people are not doing anything to increase their frequency, right? They're going to music festivals and, you know, they're they don't care about any of this. They're not awake, they're completely asleep. So it's kind of like a dog with fleas. You know, the earth is going to go no matter what. It doesn't care if we go with it. So it's our job to raise our frequency to not only keep up with the earth, but once we raise our frequency, to run that frequency into the earth to reach critical mass around the planet. Can everyone visualize that? Like right now we have people from all over the world on the webinar and you're getting an activation right now, just the frequency of this transmission. You can feel that, right? All right, so there are three different waves of indigos that have come onto the planet. There have been some that came in right after World War II. So this was like the first wave of indigos, and they didn't really know what they were getting into. They basically volunteered or they were sent, and when they got here, they didn't realize how dense it was. So, you know, they didn't like being here. They were basically miserable, and but they had to be the first ones. It's kind of like, how many of you have more than one child? Just type a Y in the text chat. So you're probably aware, like, let's say you have 3 children. The first child gets the majority of the issues. Have you ever noticed that? They're the one that struggle the most. And then the second child is less, and then the third child can be almost completely clear. Well, that's the same thing with the 3 waves of indigos. The first one was very difficult. The second one was easier. And now the third one, the 10,000 that are coming now and that are here, they're almost ready to go. The only thing that they require to clear are the things that they picked up from the earth when they incarnated here and the karmic imprints of their parents. And so they have it much easier, and they're able to just come in and they serve as transducers for the universal life force currents. So imagine this. Just close your eyes for a second. Imagine that this golden liquid light is coming down through your crown chakra. So this is from the unified field. This is what's happening all the time. It's coming down through your crown chakra. It comes down your central vertical channel, goes out through all of your chakras, and then it goes down into the center of the earth. So if you are clear, you can embody the Kundalini life force currents. And then you can run those Kundalini currents into the earth to activate the grids and to heal the grids. So that's really the purpose of the third wave of indigos, is to be frequency transducers, like antenna to source. And wherever they are on the planet, they're able to run that frequency. So the issue right now is that most of these people have no idea that this is why they're here. So that's the purpose of this webinar, because I believe a lot of you are indigos. I know probably all of you are indigos, but some of you are also from the 10,000. So indigos are here by design and intention. They're here because they were asked to come or they volunteer. And so they're like the big light pillars around the planet that are able to draw and hold more frequency. And if Earth is in trouble, which it is in trouble, you need to have the highest frequency beings on the planet, because the guardian races, the ones that actually seeded Earth from the beginning, they designed this particular system as a free will system, so they can't interfere. There's been all kinds of cataclysms that were caused by uh, technology getting ahead of spirituality. Scientists doing experiments and blowing up Atlantis, and the whole earth going into pole shift and huge floods and all kinds of stuff. So this has happened before, and the only way that the guardians can actually interfere is if we're about to completely destroy the earth, because if we did that, it would affect all the other interdimensional systems. So that's the only way that they can intervene. But they thought, if we can't intervene outwardly, we can intervene inwardly. So what we'll do is we will send in these higher frequency beings, and when they come there, just their frequency will help to heal the mess that we're in and to restore the potential for the Christ consciousness. And so that's the purpose, the main purpose generally of the indigos. That's why we need to wake the indigos up first. And the third wave of indigos are composed of 10,000 new beings, and they're known as the grid keepers. So, at the quantum level, we're all energy, right? Well, the Earth's grids are composed of scalar waves that flash on and off. So if those standing scalar waves are not flashing on, we have a problem, because the energy cannot flow around the planet. And that's what's happened due to all these past cataclysms and interferences. But when an indigo comes, and let's say they're fully activated and they run that frequency into the grids, they turn on those flashline sequences of the grids. And now we can activate that light, and we can use it on the planet to ascend to the next dimension up. We have 4 different versions of Earth. We have Earth, Terra, Gaia, and Arimatina. So just like you have your soul identity, Earth has Terra. That's their soul identity. Then they have Gaia, their oversoul. And Arimatina would be the Christos avatar self planet of Earth. The problem is there's been so much drama that Terra was basically destroyed. And so the ascension path of Earth has been stuck for millions of years in dimensions 1, 2, and 3. We have never been able to ascend. Now we finally have the frequency available on the planet to do that. And we have, these big guns coming in, the indigos, that are here with the right frequency, the right DNA template to be able to do this as well. They just require the right education, the guidance, the clearings, the activations to be able to perform their mission and to do what they came here to do. Does that make sense, everyone? So I've been aware of this since 1999. So this is all I've been doing, and you guys have been with me. Some of you have been with me for over 15 years, and some of you we've met in person many times. But the grids need help because the first two seedings were basically wiped out. Now we're in the third seeding, and we're in the end of an ascension cycle. So every 26,556 years, there's an ascension cycle where the stargates open up and new higher interdimensional frequency comes in. So if you don't ascend during ascension cycle, you have to wait another 26,556 years. And we've been waiting for this one for a long time because now, we finally have the frequency, and now all of you are here, you know, I'm here, the 10,000 new Indigos are here, the grid keepers, and we have the technology, the protocol, and the codes to finally do this. So it's a huge thing for all of the guardian races, and they've been watching to see if we're going to make it because they can't interfere. They can they can they can give us like a gift. Like if you start a new system on a planet and you seed some beings, at certain times those beings are going to need certain inventions, right? So you can't interfere, but you can give them a gift. Like let's say you give them fire, okay? In the very ancient times, what would happen is a guardian would actually incarnate in a human body and bring one of these gifts to evolve humanity. And that's why in the ancient times they said the gods lived among them. In every culture there's been these people that were referred to as gods. So they would bring a gift like fire or agriculture, you know, different things that would help evolve humanity. Well, now they can't incarnate here because Earth is so contaminated. If an ascended master like Babaji tried to manifest his form here, he would be so contaminated immediately that he would lose his potential for immortality. So for inventions nowadays, they cannot bring someone here and just say, here's a gift. What they do is they put the invention, the thought, the idea in the atmosphere. And then whoever on the earth is able to receive that receives it. And then they start working on the invention. And as you're aware, there are multiple people on the earth working on the same invention because the idea is out there, right? Does that make sense, everyone? So when you get an idea, pay attention to it because this is something that may be for you and it may be for the earth's highest good. Look at what Elon Musk is doing. So how do we heal the grids? How do we activate the grids? How do we clear ourselves? Well, in order to understand that, you need to know how light symbol codes work. I'm going to show you an example of the codes. So basically, codes are mathematical programs that when you run them through your consciousness into different parts of your body and your DNA template, it will activate the corresponding frequencies. So this is an example of a code right here that has specific color frequency bands, different frequencies, and has a specific intention encoded into it. So when you look at the code, what happens is you do optical pineal induction. You inhale the code to your third eye, it activates the frequency and intention of the code. In every chakra DNA strand, and every particle and cell of your being. And it will purge out anything that doesn't resonate with that frequency. So it's a much faster way to clear yourself of discordant energies and to activate those dormant fire letters of your consciousness. And so these are blueprints of matter and consciousness. So once you activate them, you can then run this frequency through the Earth's grids and positively affect the Earth. So what this allows us to do is to rapidly correct our auric field of any distortions or mutations, also called the morphogenetic field, and any genetic distortions in our DNA that have kept us dumbed down and trapped within karmic loops, cycles of birth and death and reincarnation. For thousands of years we've been stuck in the 3D. So most people, they come in, they lose their memory, they're born to two dysfunctional parents, they grow up, they don't know why they're here, what they came here to do, and they get stuck in society beliefs, maybe a wage slave job, work their whole life, and at 72, they drop the body without accomplishing anything. So they go to the astral level, they have their life review, they plan what they're going to do. But what happens is when they come down, because the gene code shuts down because of the grids block a person from being able to bring in that soul memory. So this is what we really require to fix. And so if you're not able to, you know, evolve in your lifetime, then of course you're unable to participate in the ascension cycles. Does everyone understand that? Just type a Y, please. All right. So as I told you before, since 2003, I've done over 10,000 live webinars and workshops, mainly focused on DNA activations. My planetary service contract is for grid work because I'm a member of the Blueprinter Soul Group. I have divine power and divine self-expression as my soul energy, so I'm focused on freedom, helping other people become free. And divine self-expression is basically a natural channel to the divine, so I can connect to and download information very quickly and then share it, in different forms like a webinar or a book or a video. Also, I have the Indigo type 1 DNA. I've been a guardian since the beginning. I have access to the original teachings, which are stored on what are called the CDT plates, which contain the true history of Earth, energy mechanics, manifestation, and healing technologies using specific codes. I've also published 2 books, 24 manuals, and I have 3 books that are in progress. Another thing that I'm really focused on is creating codes, because codes are really the key to everything. If you just think about how our planet is run, what is behind everything that is creating something on our planet? What do you think? Codes, coding, programming, right? I have a computer science degree, so I did that for 20 years. If you want to change something, then you have to write new code, like at the operating system level. So it's the same with human beings. You have to change the coding to get a different output. And so what I found is that when you activate certain codes with certain intentions, you can install different abilities in yourself, for healing, for manifestation, even for manifesting material abundance. You can have codes for that. You can have codes to activate your higher senses. So I've created over 1,000 of these codes, and I use them for my clients and my students and myself every single day. So here's an example of a code. And so this is the code for activating indigos. And what I thought I would do for you is just give you an experience and do an activation for you so you can see how this works. So if you would like to do this, just type a Y on your text chat and I'll guide you through it. All right, so just please focus on this code. Have your left hand with the palm facing down, fingers pointing away from you, very relaxed and not touching anything. So the first thing we're going to do is connect to your higher self. So inhale the code to your third eye, exhale the code down to your heart chakra, and then close your eyes and just focus on what you're feeling in your left hand. So your left hand is a receiving hand for energy and your right hand is a sending hand. As you're focused on your left hand, just say connecting to my higher self. When you do this, you'll feel a strong tingling in your fingertips. Does everyone feel that? Just type a Y on the text chat with your right hand. So your higher self is you in the higher dimensions from dimensions 4 through 15. Now that you're connected to your higher self, you can just close your eyes and just feel what happens as I run the code protocol. It is commanded in the name of divine love that the Indigo Awakening Activation Code is activated for each person here, clearing the highest priority imprints in their heart chakra permanently in the best way possible for them and in line with their higher self now. Ta Asian Tadoi. So if you're sensitive to energy, you'll feel this not only in your left hand, but also in various parts of your body. Just keep breathing normally. For some of you, you'll feel this very heavy in your left hand as well. So the energy is right around your second knuckle, moving toward your palm. So what this is doing is helping to open up the frequency receivers in your DNA so you can receive this information to become more awakened and to more align with your indigo soul purpose. Now the energy is going in the middle of your palm. And it's moving underneath your palm toward your wrist right now. Take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, send the code all the way down your central vertical channel, all the way down to the center of the earth. Now you could just open your eyes and come back here to the 3D. How did that feel, everyone? Amazing. Wow. So some of you are probably about 5,000 miles away from me. So you can see there's no limitation to doing energy work. I can have an energetic impact on you no matter where you are in the world. You could be with Elon Musk on Mars and we could still do the same thing. There's no limitation. So what will happen is you'll be able to draw and hold more frequency, and you'll be clear in your heart chakra, which is the gateway to your soul identity. So this is how we rapidly, exponentially evolve, is by using codes. So the title of the webinar was the 2 things that stop indigos, or the 2 things you must do to ascend. So the 2 things that stop indigos are karma and fear. So what is karma? Well, karma is the disordered energy that is within us from making choices directly against divine right order. So for example, one of the original intentions of source for this time matrix is unconditional love. If we choose judgment instead of love, we are running our energy in reverse. And so we fracture off our soul's energy and we create these twisted energy patterns called karmic imprints or miasms. And then when the energy hits our auric field, it can't process. And so this is how karma is created. So the first thing that we must do as indigos is clear any karma that we have. Clear it from what we inherited from our parents, what we may have brought in, what we may have unconsciously or consciously created. So that has to be done first, because you can't ascend if you're still on the wheel of karma. You can't ascend if you just keep, living a life and then going to the astral level and reincarnating again. So that has to be cleared. The other thing that has to be completely annihilated is fear. If you're here with a specific mission, but you're full of fear and you're afraid to actually take action, then that's going to stop you. You're never going to accomplish your mission. And then you're going to drop your body, you're going to go to the astral level, have your life review, and you're not being judged by other people there. You're judging yourself. You're basically saying, look, I had this mission. I didn't do it because of fear. Well, the the really disappointing part about that would be you find out that fear is not even real. You know, it's there. It doesn't even exist. It's not even a part of this experience. It's just a creation to keep people in control. So that has to be cleared. Karma and fear, those are the two things that stop indigos. Does that make sense, everyone? How many of you here know that karma and fear has stopped you in this lifetime? Absolutely, right? Everyone has had fear. You've had fearful experiences happen, and unfortunately, the matrix projects that. The medical industry, the media, the churches, that's how they control people. That's how they control the masses. So, but all of that has to be cleared if you want to ascend. Are there any questions so far? Just type your questions on the text chat, please. Yeah, there's a long history that it would take too long to go into, but the humans started 560 million years ago in what is called Project Turanusum. And so since that time, there's been all kinds of tampering, manipulation, wars. There was the cataclysm of Terra, where the deep underground power crystals exploded. So the grid of Terra was blown apart, and Terra basically detached from the morphogenetic grid. So since Terra was missing portions of its grid, we couldn't continue evolution or ascension to the harmonic universe 3 to merge with Gaia. So it was basically frozen in time until it was repaired. So then we had Project Turanusum 2, and there were many seedings on Earth. You have to realize that these higher beings are seeding consciousness. So you seed beings in different locations, and you create different races, not skin races, but what are called cloister races. And so that happened 250 million years ago. And then we had the Earth human race first seeding 25 million years ago. And that was ended by what is called the electric wars. So we had to start again, the second seeding. That was 5 million years ago. And so there's been many cataclysms, many invasions. You've heard about the polarity, right? Different races that want to control Earth. A lot of this is really coming out right now. So our last seeding was 849,000 years ago. And we finally have the chance to ascend Earth. So that's why we're doing all this. And that's why we're doing all these manual clearings and activations, because we're at the end of a ascension cycle. And we don't want the same thing that happened during the Atlantis Holocaust to happen now, when technology gets ahead of spirituality. We want spirituality always be ahead of technology. Okay. Any other questions? All right. So as promised, here's what I have. I started a new group called the Grid Keepers. And so the purpose of this group is to gather you guys, dedicated and sincere Indigos, who are as focused as myself on performing your soul's mission and basically doing what you came here to do. After this webinar tonight and probably some of my other webinars, you know that you're an Indigo and you know why you're here. But when you are with other people who are doing their soul's mission and you see that and you realize that you could do the same and you have that support and that guidance, it makes it a lot easier. And so the purpose of this group, the Grid Keepers, is so you can learn more of the true history, the mechanics of how everything works, the energy dynamics, and the powerful techniques to ascend yourself in consciousness and to help the earth and humanity ascend as well. Also, of course, we're focused on clearing the two things that could possibly stop you, which are all past karmic imprints and all fear. So you can work in line with your soul's mission in a very powerful way. What we'll be working on is, dispensing the advanced teachings from the CD plates that are applicable right now. And of course, these have never been released before because there's only 2 people left on the planet who have access to these. And so you're going to get very advanced, detailed information about your own energetic anatomy, information about the DNA, the 7 seals, unnatural seals, axial tonal lines, meridians, energetic anatomy, as well as the energetic anatomy of the earth. So the location of the earth stargates, the Q sites, the activation sites for the stargates, because you might live right on top of one of these. And so it's important to know what to do when the time comes so you can help open that stargate and to help facilitate the ascension cycle. We'll also go over, where the portals are located on the earth, the dimensional gateways, how the Merkaba fields work right now, how to reorder the Merkaba field to be the correct rotation and speed, and the angular rotation of particle spin. So you have all this knowledge, and when the time comes, you can do what you came here to do. Some of this may sound like a sci-fi movie, but I can assure you it's not. This is something that I've been working on with Babaji since 2006, and at night we work on these things. We're working on the grids, and you may be working on the grids as well and not even realize it, because the only thing that gets tired right now with you is your physical body. The rest of you is ready to work. You know, while you're sleeping, you're working. And so you're traveling around, you're going in different dimensions, you're fighting dark forces, you are trying to raise a frequency, you're communicating with all these other beings and your higher self. So, this training is like some of the mystery school trainings that, for example, Jeshua ran when he was in Egypt. He had secret mystery schools where all of this was taught. And 9 of the 12 books of the Bible were taken out of the Bible at the Council of Nicaea by the Catholics because they didn't want humanity to have this information. And so the CDT plates have that information, the book of maps and keys and, how to ascend, all of that has been lost basically. So that's what you have access to. And really the purpose is to rapidly and exponentially raise your frequency so you can embody those different levels of consciousness that you have access to. So this is not for a dabbler, this is for someone who wants to be a master. So at the end of this, you'll basically become one of the guardians of Earth, which you might be already and not be aware of it, but one of the few trusted souls on the planet who know about ascension dynamics and how to do this. So how does the training work? Well, I'll be your teacher, and every week we'll have a live webinar like this where I'll cover a topic from the CDT plates. We'll also do some very advanced code activations and deactivations as needed to get you where you need to be so you can quickly clear any karma and annihilate any fear that still may be in your field. I'm also going to be coaching you on how to use this information and how to apply it in your 3D life. We're not just focused on the spiritual realms here. We're focused on using this information to master your entire life. So you can use it for yourself, you can use it for your children. If you're in healing facilitation or coaching and consulting, you can use it for your clients. I can tell you that just being in the presence of this frequency of information, you can feel it right now, right? How many of you can feel that you're speeding up? Like you have more energy than you started the webinar with? Absolutely, right? So it's the frequency of the information because it comes in on at least a 6-dimensional spectrum. So some of you may be struggling to actually accrete the information, but others of you get it immediately. And that's because of the apartheid that we talked about. So basically, the Grid Keepers will be the most advanced spiritually focused group on the planet, and will focus on getting things done on the planet via group manifestations and also energy clearing. So just like we can clear a person of blockages like, thought forms or occupants, we can clear the earth of thought forms, that are very discordant, different manipulations that are going on with the group consciousness. We can clear that, kind of like the SWAT team, like special wisdom and access and tactics team. That's the SWAT team. So that's what we're going to be focusing on doing on the Grid Keepers. The total value of the training. So access to the information from the CDT plates is priceless. We're going to have a live training each week where you learn a specific concept and topic and then apply it in your life. So I put a total value of 1111 for that. We're also going to do custom code activations each week. So each of you will receive a custom code for your specific intentions, for your specific DNA template, And I'll also be doing soul readings for each of you. So to determine what type of indigo you are, what your soul group is. And this is just super important because once you know this, you can line up your 3D life with what you have available. So the total value of that is 1111. We're also at the end of each session going to do a powerful energetic healing and clearing each week to clear any past residue, from karma or fear that may be holding you back. That's 1111. And I'm also going to help you with your 3D life. So if you have any questions about, relationships, how your energy works with another person, manifestation, energy healing, and even how to manifest more financial abundance, I'll be able to help you with that as well. So my students who are, mentees, they invest 5,000 per month just for that. So the total value of all of this for the grid keepers is 8333. And this is only going to be available for 12 people on this webinar. So the tuition is only going to be a quarter of that. So it's only going to be $22.22, and that is for a month. And so you'll have 4 live trainings, you have a custom code, you have access to the CDT plates, the information there, and also live coaching and help in different areas of your life. Okay, so that's the deal. To get your spot on the training for the grid keepers, send me a message on Skype, shivananda.brahmananda. And again, this is only for 12 people, and this special tuition is only for this webinar. Any questions? Where is Jesus in this training? Well, you will be very surprised about the true story of that. So yeah, it's for 4 weeks, Venkat, and then if you desire to continue after that, it'll be the same tuition. Yeah, I mean, Babaji, Jesus, Buddha, Lady Nada, Lord Kutumi, Lord Maitreya, you know that all of them are in the White Brotherhood. So that's like a council, spiritual council of Earth. So we have access to them, and we also have access to the Maharata teachings, the original teachings. So that's what we're focused on is using this knowledge in a pristine way, never ever changing it for controlled dogma purposes like it has been done in the past, and entrusting you guys to assist with this because I can't do it all on my own. There's very few people on the planet who even are aware of this, right? So I would be honored if you would join us. Any other questions? All right, so thank you so much for being here. Send me a message on Skype to get one of your spots. There's 371 people on the webinar right now. This is only for 12. We're going to start with 12. And I suspect eventually we'll build up to 144,000 by the end of the year. The training will start on Tuesday, Venkat. So if you're getting a strong yes for doing this, all you have to do, just like I showed you, you're already connected to your higher self. Okay, just have your left hand with a palm facing down, fingers pointing away from you, very relaxed and not touching anything. And just ask your higher self, is the Grid Keepers training in line with my higher self and something that I should do? Is the Grid Keepers training for my highest good? Am I to do this? That's all you have to do. Some of you, don't have a clear connection to your higher self, so you don't immediately receive the answer, and that's why you do require the clearings and the activations. Yeah, that's right, Katerina. There are very few people on the planet that have this frequency, and the original design was to have backups, because sometimes there would be something happen to one of the people responsible for this information, just like John the Baptist got murdered, so he wasn't able to fulfill his mission. Yeah, so just send me a quick message on Skype, text message shivananda.brahmananda. Add me there if we're not added already. Just say I am in, and I'll send you the instructions on how to sign up, and I'll send you the link to the first training. All right, everyone? All right, so I'm going to pause the audio here and jump on Skype. If you have any more questions, you can type them on the text chat, or you can send them on Skype. I really appreciate you being here, and I appreciate your trust and allowing me to work in your field, and I look forward to continued progress and clarity. Much love to you all, and namaste.